G'day prospectors, Tony from Gold Talk Leonora. And this time you get the front of my head. And my face. Yeah, front of my head.
Oh, I found my first piece of junk too.
Oh, there we go. Someone telling us about the gold they found. Good on them.
I'm framing mine, thank you.
I wonder if they realise that they're on like an open public channel. Why don't you give us the coordinates as well? We'll come and have a look. Anyway, I'll just turn that down. Alright. I'm just waiting while Tommy warms himself up. And this is this is sort of where I live at this time of the year. Sitting in the cab of one machine or another. Whilst I know it's not the greatest surrounds, I thought we'd have a little chat here. Here's where I've got to be. I'll be walking Tommy down a little bit to Tiny. I'm just doing some bearing change outs on the tyres, on the wheels. Just a little bit of maintenance goes a long way. Always try and slip it in. So one of the things I want to talk about, which is, it's a little bit of a funny one, and I'll say right from the word outset is that what I'm going to talk about, I can't give you any answers to. You've got to work it out for yourself. So in that light, I think it's, what I'm trying to say is be aware, but don't be alarmed. That's probably the right way of putting it. And to be honest, it is about your safety. And I'm going to take a couple of different sort of approaches to this, but I think it's something that you should consider. For those that are particularly new with prospecting, it's probably the last thing that you want to think about, because I think when you start off prospecting for the first few years, it really is all about the sunsets and those little blue wren fuckers and that sort of stuff, the birds and Mother Nature, as well as finding a little bit of gold. But you would be naive if you did not consider all of the other stuff. So in short, I always feel safer out in the bush, particularly when I'm with Lisa. Everyone thinks that I'm the nasty bloke. I'm a pussycat. She's the evil one. Don't get on a bad side. But I always feel safer out in the bush than I do in town, and most certainly in Perth. I think that the bush has just as many crazy people per square kilometre as we do in the city, but there's more people in the city and it's easier for them to hide. Out here it's pretty obvious who the nut jobs are. Well, or so you'd think. But the thing I'd say to you is there's two directions I want to take. So one is that we all know it, everyone's been banging on about, including myself, gold's $6,000, $6,500 an ounce. It's a shit ton of money. Gold has always been valuable, but I think when you combine, dare I say it, the cost of living crisis that a lot of people are feeling, and a really high price of gold that's in the media, then the nasty bastards of the world put, 1 and 2 together and get 6 and think, righto. So being out here, seeing people getting gold with their $100,000 caravans and their $10,000 metal detectors, it's not unthinkable that some of these nut jobs out there would think, well, there's an easy target. Now, I know that this actually does happen, but it's very, very rare, very, very rare. But I think it's something that you need to be aware of. And particularly if you're some of these prospectors that get on Facebook show off your gold. You know, I'm wonderful, I'm fantastic, I've got many years experience, showing off nuggets. Well, I sort of think you're leaving yourself wide open. We occasionally show gold, but I'm aware of its value and the security risk, and the only time we show gold is once that gold has left our property and is in our bank account via the Perth Mint. There is no way we're going to be showing gold when we're living out bush tucked up in a bloody caravan. No. I think the chances of things happening are rare and remote, but I think it's a little bit along the lines of always carrying an EPIRB, a personal locator beacon, and, you know, having a spare tyre on board, having a little bit of security, at least thinking about how you're going to do it, is well worth it. Now, what you decide to come up with is your business, and a lot of people will be thinking, well, Tane, I only find a few scraps, I don't really need to worry about. And, you know, if we're talking grams, that's fine. But many people, many people are talking ounces and ounces of gold that they find each year. And keeping those tucked up in your caravan and telling people about it at the caravan park or your close friends ain't smart. I would suggest maybe posting it off to a close family relative somewhere else, or at least getting it off site is I think, smart. The other thing I wanted to talk about, you know, and again, look, this is all being aware but not alarmed. That's what I'm saying. The other thing I talk about is your own personal security, and it does tie into the first one with the price of gold and people watching what you're doing. But what I see all the time up here, and I mean it's not so much a common theme, it's just common practice. People are really nervous about being out in the bush by themselves. And despite what I said first, I don't really understand why that is. Lisa and I have spent, we spent about 8 or 9 years living out bush in our caravan, and then we're on a cattle station, and now we're in town, and you know, it's always been about being out in the bush, and we've always felt safer out there than anywhere we've lived. But the thing I find is that people just about won't go bush unless they're with somebody. So they might be people they're travelling with from the east, it might be people involved in a club, it could be any number of different things. Often it's people that they meet at a caravan park, and all I'm saying is that the bush can be a really stressful environment for people that don't have any experience in the bush, if that makes sense. The longer you spend in the bush, the more comfortable you get. But in those early days, weeks, months, years, it can be a stressful situation because it's all a different environment. A bit like if I go to Perth, it scares the shit out of me. All I'm saying is that even though we really want to, a lot of people need to be around other people out in the bush, what I'd say is be really careful about who you're going bush with. And I really say this with a lot of respect because, you know, there's missing persons cases that are active at the moment where people have gone missing, we'll say. And, you know, this is one of the likely scenarios where they've gone out with people they don't really know and it's all gone pear-shaped. Now, as I said, I have no information on that. I'm just saying that they're things that may have happened. So I'm very sensitive about upsetting family or people if they just happen to stumble on this channel, which is highly unlikely, I might add, but anyway. So the thing I'm saying is that I say it with respect. Be bloody cautious about who you're going out bush with. if you meet someone at the caravan park, at the very least, go out for dinner a few nights down at the pub and just try and get to understand who they are a little bit. And most importantly is have a very clear plan or a very clear idea of what happens to any gold found. I think gold is often the catalyst for problems. And to give you an example of that, it would be a case of, well, we're going out bush and we're going to go halves in everything, or we'll just keep what we find. Either way, if you get onto gold, that'll all go out the window and turn to pus. It always does, or almost always does. But I think just verbalising those things and having a little bit of an understanding of who you're going out bush with is really, really important. People, in my experience, they want to embrace the bush and they want to have that bush experience and that gold prospector experience, and that's bloody awesome. But just be aware some of the people up here are not right, and and people travelling around, so you just want to be very cautious. That's all I really wanted to say. It's just those 2 points. Very conscious about your security of your product, which is gold, and be very conscious about your own personal safety, particularly when it comes to people that you're going out bush with. The weather up here at the moment, God knows why all the tourists bugger off. It's just the nicest time of the year. We've got sort of 26s at the moment, 27s, that's that Celsius, not that Fahrenheit rubbish. And it is absolutely stonkingly beautiful up here at the moment. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. You may notice that I've gone full safety spec on my head, and that's where you're going to see a lot more of that in Western Australia. There was new safety legislation that came in about, I think it's 2021, that's really starting to bite now, where, as I said, safety legislation, personal safety, personal protective equipment, etc., etc. And because we work on an operational mine site, even though it's just leased from myself, we have to comply, and so that means all our underwear and things like socks, jocks, t-shirts, whatever, all have to be mine spec, which is high fluoro. It needs to have the 3M reflective tape if we work at night time, which most of the time we don't anyway. But of course now the new legislation has come in, or new regulations to the legislation's come in about hair has to be a high vis variety, and that's going to be in by just after Christmas this year, so I'm just getting ahead and dyed my hair up already. So this is what you're going to be seeing right across Western Australia. Everyone has to have high vis hair, all mine workers. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Be able to spot us a mile away. Prospectors, you have yourself a glorious day wherever you are in the world. Again, I genuinely hope it doesn't alarm people. I just want you to think about this stuff. Just like everything else you need to consider out here, it's worth your 5 or 10 minutes to have a strategy. Prospectors, you take care. See ya.